back to the Schmitter's 100 Acre Woods. Today I'm going to do a little bit more of an in-depth walkthrough of the LX150. So we've had it now about 3 months and have all the issues sorted out with it. Have about 24 hours on it, so I'll do kind of a walkthrough of what features we got with it. I've kind of talked about those in previous videos, but I'll do kind of a more in-depth and walk through them all in this one video. So I'll walk through that, kind of show you some of the different features, and see what you guys think. A little bit of background info. This is an LX150. We got it with the diesel motor, so it either comes with a Yanmar diesel or a Kohler gas engine. We opted for the diesel, a little bit more efficient, has torque at the low RPM, so it in theory should go through boards and everything a little bit better. So that was kind of the thinking there. On the control panel, I have the simple set on top, so we got the simple set with it. And then the other kind of option you can get when ordering this is the debarker. So I'll walk around in a minute and talk about that over there. So I'll kind of walk through the display. So using the simple set, and then kind of what the all the features do here and what we're looking at. So just kind of a quick run through. On the left, you have a control, and this is your forward-backward control. So backward is just a back, forward is a bump and it stays forward. So that's like whenever you're traveling through a board, you bump that forward, and then you use this potentiometer over here to adjust how fast or slow you're going, and that adjusts the motor that's down there, how fast it's running, and like it uses this string along the bottom as kind of what it's riding along. Working your way across, this is the debarker here. So you have a toggle switch on, off, and then you have a in, out for how it's touching the log. So typically when you're running it and you're going down a log, typically the log will change size along. So how we've typically loaded logs here lately is the bigger end's on this side and the smaller end is on the other, further away. So as you travel through, you typically have to bump that in to move the debarker in. So this is, again, a panel that's used for many different things. So this is the option for a electronic start of the blade, but the LX150 does not come with that. Key start. Here you have the blade guide to move that in and out. So that is this black piece here. Go ahead and click this over, and you can see move that in and out. Has a motor over there on that side that controls that. Coming back over here, so this is if the model has a piece that comes down that will actually push the board backward. A lot of the higher production models come with that, but it does not have this. Same with here, a laser, which we will be installing a aftermarket laser, so we'll probably utilize this spot here, punch this hole out, and put in a switch, but we haven't done that yet, but that's something we hope to work on. Again, this is the potentiometer for how fast your forward travel speed is. So your backwards travel speed is like full backwards whenever you push this down. Again, you push this forward and bump it forward, and then this is what controls your speed. So typically when operating the machine, kind of hold your hand here, and then you can kind of vary this as you're going through the log and listening to the motor to see how bogged down it is. For a lot of this poplar, so I can find a piece, so I have some poplar just here. So like this is kind of the beginning of the board, but here you can see that there's a little bit of chatter. So that's from going slow, and then as you speed up, it actually smooths out. But it's different depending on the type of wood. So that's what that one is there. And then over here is your up down. So you just kind of have an up and then a down. So kind kind of the main display and the features that are included there. To the simple set, so this is kind of their standard one. Nothing too super fancy with it, but it is a very nice tool. So I'll go ahead and click this on so it initializes. So you have essentially 3 different modes on this. So you have manual mode, which it's in now, which is the hand, and then you have this to set it. So you have 2 set points. So we have one set 1.125", because that's typically what we're cutting. So you have to do the extra thickness. So if you want 1-inch boards, you have to go a little bit thicker because it's not accounting for the blade size. And then you can set, like set 1, we're doing some 4x4s. So we have it 4 1/16. And all you do to change is push up and down to change the size. If you want to go back to manual mode, just push that and you're back in manual. So essentially how the simple set works is you set a depth, or you set your height. So I'll go up just so I don't conflict with any of the boards we have on there. Okay, so if this is where I'm running my height at, I can come over here and I'll set it. And I'll go ahead and I'll do the 4-inch so you can really see the drastic change. But basically, now all you do is, if you're at the top of a board and you wanna, so if you run through, you come back, you can then go down the 4, so you just bump this down, and it'll automatically go down that 4 1/16. So now you can run it, come push up. So I need to pick it up to go over the board. Now you can come back and it will come down, so we'll remember the last spot you're at and then go down another 4 inches. So let me move forward just a little bit here. So now if I push this again, it'll go down 4 1/16 from that last spot. So there you can see it then drop that additional. So if you're doing lots of boards the same size, it is very beneficial because you can just run through. I know I've done videos in the past where essentially you just run, go down, return, and then push it down and it'll go down like the 1.125". So that is one of the very handy features with the simple set. You end up with very consistent boards that way. The LX150 does come with this little chart on the back here that has like measurements. So basically it has kind of the stop, because you're going to get into the bed. Check the blade for the support clamps, so it kind of gives you a memo there, and then anything else. But so you can use this to measure distance, but with the simple set you don't have to think about it. You can just get it set on here, push the down button, and then it goes to that point. So that's kind of the simple set and everything that's involved in the panel here. So I'll kind of then walk around the rest of the machine. Okay, I'll start on the left hand side of the machine. So here's where you have your water. So water with a little bit, like we've been using Pine Sol for example, that's all there. Your battery's here. Outshoot is over here. Coming around, this is how you engage the motor to the blade. So there's a belt. Basically you just push this down, which is moving the piece back right there. It's moving that to engage it. Here's your water on off. So we actually moved this from, it was hooked back in under there. So you're having to really reach in under this bar here to get it on and off. So it was kind of a challenge to get to. So with it right here, as soon as you pull this up to disengage, once you're done, you can come in here and just flip that off and then turn it back on right before you get going. So that's kind of the idea. Just move it closer so that it's in a better spot for the operator's location. Moving to the left hand side, or the right hand side. obviously fuel fill up. So we have a couple different things going on here. So this is the motor I was talking about that moves your blade guide in and out. And then this is your tension setup. So here you can see they recommend for the LX150 run all blades between 15 to 1700 psi. So we typically gradually will put a little bit of tension on it and let that sit, and then kind of gradually work it up. If it's been sitting for a bit, definitely if it's cold out, but there's a little gauge there, and you just use this tool to tension. Plus is up, minus down. So you just tension that up, and then make sure that it doesn't, blades will kind of stretch a little bit, and the metal blades will expand. So you just have to make sure it's maintaining that tension there. Okay, so now coming on to the front of the machine. So this is the debarker. So basically it is a motor on top that controls the in out of this. And then you have this big motor here with a blade on it. So this blade has teeth, and essentially what this is doing is it's just running along the edge of a log that has bark on it still, and it's cutting a groove out that's this thickness that allows the blade to go through and contact that virgin wood instead of the bark. So the bark's where most of the dulling of the blade happens, and there can also be dirt and rocks embedded in that blade and that bark. So, hopefully there's no rocks, but if there's any dirt, this cutting wheel here will remove that before getting to the blade back there. So that's kind of the idea behind the debarker. Essentially, it is a method to save the life of the bandsaw blade that's actually cutting your wood. So it's gotten pretty good reviews, and like we were able to, so the one thing we did have to do is adjust where exactly it was hitting. It's cutting just a little bit below, I think, where it needed to, so we had to adjust that up just a little bit. The wood stacked on here that we just want to undercover, so can ignore that for now. But looking at the bed, so there's 3 rails on here that have these black backer bars. So basically these just rotate up and down, and the idea is this is what you push your wood up against. So if you have a log, it's a stopper for that, but also once you get a cant, it's something square for you to hold up against. The other thing that this has, so kind of look at this one. So once you have a cant, let me actually grab a board and I'll show you. I actually work with something quite this short typically, but just to kind of give you an idea. So if you have a cant, so you have a square edge, you can actually push up against this little piece down here so that you can get the black backers all the way down. This allows you to cut closer to the bed and be able to use that still as a square spot. And then the pieces that actually hold the wood come with this piece. So you obviously have a spike on the end which can drive into a piece of wood really well, and that works really well for a piece of bark. But again, if you're using this little piece down here and you're trying to get most of this out of the way, this hooks right underneath here on a square piece, and you can then clamp against that. So then you only have this little bit, and this actually sticks up just a little bit higher than that does, but that sticks under there so that you can then clamp it and everything's out of the way. So as long as you don't have this sticking up, then it will clear the. So that's one of the things on this that didn't really think about how you clamp it, but it is a very handy feature having that. And then this is just a rail that this piece slides back and forth on, and that piece, the black piece there, is always fixed and just pivots up and down. The mill itself, so it's kind of the big feature, the main things we're looking at. and kind of looking at some of the features and things like that. Overall, I feel like it's built fairly well. And so these are the chains that are driven by the motor up here to run the thing up and down. With the diesel engine, you have, it's quite a bit heavier than like the gas engine, which doesn't seem to really affect much, but you have everything there. You have some additional wiring for preheat and everything that's connected there. And then on the other side, you have your fuel filter up here, and then your water separator. So things that are a little bit more unique to the Yanmar diesel engine. We haven't had to do, or we haven't done an oil change yet, so we have, like I said, let's see, on the engine we have 22 hours. I think after like 50 they recommend doing your first oil change. So we still have a little ways to go before that, but looking at that, you have your filter right here, your plug here, so not too bad to get to, considering the space and everything that's given. So it'll be interesting to see how all that goes when it's time, but just from a quick glance, it looks like that should be pretty easy to get to. As I mentioned, we're looking at putting a laser on here. So I've seen there's a couple people that I haven't seen like a Wood-Mizer one, but have adopted lasers. So we already had the laser bot, we had the mount bot, so now it's just a matter of finding where on the mill we can put that will give the most accurate representation of where the blade is, and kind of provides the most stability versus not being in the way. So over here on this side, more than likely is going to be where it needs to be. You can then line it up with the bottom of the blade and get it attached, and then we can run wiring up around, and there's a wire there that we may be able to travel along, or there's wires you can get inside here. Take this tube across, and then, like I said, I hope to get a switch and wire it directly into there so you can flip it on and off from there. The one that I bought comes with a battery pack, and the idea is you can plug and unplug that, but wanted a little bit more fit and finish look, so we'll put it in the box over there since there's already a spot for it. We just have to punch out the hole that has the laser and get it installed. So hope to work on that soon. Now that we're fully under cover, offers it more protection, so we can work on getting that installed at some point. Okay, so I talked about the mill itself, so now I'll kind of talk about some of the accessories that we use along with the mill. So as you can see, have quite a bit of sawdust. So we've already picked up some of it, but we have some left over. So I guess the biggest thing is you want something to do with that sawdust. And the way we've been scooping it up is, you can see we have a snow shovel. It works really well to, once you have kind of a row of it, to work all of it, and we just put it in the corner here. And then obviously like a manure shovel or a big scoop shovel to where you can move larger amounts of it is very helpful. You can see we have several different scrapers along the way. Have those so that once you get done, you always have sawdust on top of the boards. You can scrape those off before you stack them. Some kind of brush is nice to get in between. Pretty hard bristles, just because a lot of this stuff you're running water through that to cool it and provide lubrication. So when doing that, you end up with quite a bit of water and stuff along here. So it ends up kind of being gummy and sticky. So you need something to be able to scrape all that down. Okay, in a previous video, talked about getting these cant hooks up. So use those to rotate the logs around. So typically we'll start, get a flat top, rotate all the way around with the flat on the bottom, get a flat top, and then rotate to get the top, and then rotate all the way around to get a full cant, so you have 4 square sides. So use that for those. Have, I believe, a 5-foot one, a 4-foot one. Then we have a small 2-foot one inside, and it's nice. Like whenever you're out in the woods, you can throw it in the back of the otter and use it to just kind of churn logs and not have to carry this massive thing around. While obviously it's up, but while that seems a little crazy, this is by far our favorite one. If you're doing any logs of any size, it's really nice having that extra leverage of the long cant hook. Not as much work required. Okay, next accessories. So these kind of go together. So anytime you have a log that is bigger on one side versus the other side, the smaller side you need the jack up so that the pit is center all the way across. So here we have a little bottle jack that fits nicely between these rails, and typically you can put like a 2x4 or something under if you need to pick it up a little bit more, but that fits nicely in there to where you can pick the log up. And then this piece here is just a wedge with a thing cut in it. So what you can do there is if you have a log picked up, you can then slide that on there and then push that under the log so that you have physical contact down onto the bed instead of just having the jack head that's on there holding that up. So that's what that's used for, and try to use it anytime we're picking up the log. Okay, leftover. So sometimes, depending on how exactly you're able to get on the log to kind of restrain it, so to pinch it and hold it, you sometimes end up twisting that log a little bit. So in the interest of keeping it as square as possible, we have a couple of just plastic wedges you use like for doors, window framing. Just have these out here. You can put those in there, kind of help keep things squared up. A little bit of lube, put on chains, things like that. A couple more scrapers like I mentioned. Pencil, basic measuring tape, another brush, and that there. We were covering with a tarp, but now that we're completely under cover, we've stopped covering with the tarp so we can actually fold it up. Here have just a broom, so once we get everything scraped off with like the snow shovel down there, we'll then go through and broom, get it a little bit cleaner, and it works well for in between here to kind of get things cleaned up. Again, pretty hard bristle broom on that, just because things do get stuck, so a soft bristle wouldn't work as well. Have a yardstick out here, so basically we are using that. So when measuring, so I mentioned for the jack, you need to get the pits at the same height. So obviously you can use a tape measure, but it is much more cumbersome to hold it up and get the height. You can set this right down on the concrete. So if you've watched other videos, you see kind of what we've done. But you can hold this right down on the concrete on one end. Say that the pit's at 20 inches. Can then go to the other end and put this down on the concrete and get it the same height. So that's one reason the concrete is nice, is you have that ability to do that. We don't have that much variation in our concrete. So you can use you can use the floor as a measuring off of device. A lot of people you see have to measure off of the bed frames because they're, if they're working on a dirt or gravel floor, they don't have a hard surface to work off of. So they need to work off this to be square. Well, because we have our floors relatively square, or should be, not enough for this to affect it too much. that we can use this on each end to get our pits lined up. So that is pretty handy, and this is just a whole lot easier to hold up there and do. So I mention it whenever I put this up, but have a hookaroon and basically use it typically for firewood, but have it out here so if you have like a stack of boards and you've just cut off with the water and the sawdust and everything in between, they kind of get stuck where they don't want to move. You can use that hookaroon to go down and get it kind of unstuck, if you will, so that so you can then get it pulled off. So have that down here at this end to have. What people have asked about is power. So we are going to run power down here. Right there is our power pole, and the way that the power was set here is we have a primary box at the bottom of the pole under the meter. So we'll be able to hook up to one of the breakers that's there, run power across, so dodge the trees, dig across and come in over here at this corner. We'll probably just put like an LB in and then put in probably like an outlet down here, a switch on this corner, and then just run up, and we have the cord just hanging here right now, but put an outlet over there so that we can plug this in and wire it to a switch, so you can just flip a switch on and turn on our 30 shop lights along with our 2 floodlights out the front for additional visibility. So in a nutshell, that's the sawmill and kind of some of the stuff that we use with it. Hopefully that answered, most people's questions about the LX150 and kind of its capabilities. I think we got most of the options that are currently available for. It's the diesel engine, which isn't as common on these machines. Most people get it with the gas, so it's a little bit different. It's unique. See what we've done with the building, kind of how we have the tools that we use to sawmill and everything. So hopefully that answers everyone's questions. Definitely put a comment on this video if there's something I missed or something you have a question about. I'll either do another video if I have to, or I'll just answer in the comments. So still some things to come as far as power, and we have some logs lined up right now that are about to get milled, so definitely lots more milling and construction coming soon. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching the Schmitter's 100 Acre Woods. Hopefully you found this interesting, learned a little bit about the LX150. I know I've showcased it quite a bit, but haven't done a complete run through yet, so hopefully this answers any questions and kind of informs you guys. So hit that thumbs up button, subscribe. We'll catch you next time.